Good evening. I'm millionaire Bruce Wayne. And welcome to TV Land's Batmanathon, a week-long salute to a man I consider to be a close personal friend, even though I've never actually been seen in the same room with him. Batman, featuring Gotham City's most nefarious no-good names. Tonight, the Cape Crusader focuses on that foul, fiendish, felonious pharaoh, King Tut. Stay tuned.
As you may recall, we last left Batman sealed in an Egyptian sarcophagus 5 feet underwater. For you, several hours have passed. For our heroes, not 1 second. We just may be witnessing the final chapter in Batman's brave life. Don't move an inch. The most incredible occurrences have yet to occur. Incredibly.
Welcome, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Batcave Podcast. It's your old bat chum, John S. Drew here, and we're back taking a look at, well, I don't want to say one of my favorites, but he's a favorite to many of our listeners here who don't seem to understand why I struggle with him, that being King Tut, as played by Victor Buono. Now, I've brought in 2 different guests to talk about him on 2 different occasions, and in both instances, my guests have agreed with me. So who knows, maybe the 3rd time's the charm with my guest here today as we discuss these 2 King Tut episodes. I've brought in our master filmmaker here, the man who, by the way, thank you very much for hooking me up with your edited copy of the Zodiac Crimes. Much appreciated. A lot of fun to watch, and I have to agree with you, as we discussed in the Zodiac Crimes, makes for a much better movie. That man being Mr. Robert Long. Hey, Robert.
Morning, John. Morning, citizens.
I do have to agree with you, though. It did make for a better film.
It's just so tight and action-packed.
Yeah. Which is ironic because it was written as a 3-parter. You would think that being a 3-parter, you could allow for lags and stuff, but it just moves.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to those that like the movie. I mean, I was there as a kid, totally, but you got all that action going on. I'm sorry, it blew the movie away from me.
Well, let's talk about this episode, though, or these 2 episodes. King Tut's Coup, Batman's Waterloo. They aired on March 8th and 9th, 1967. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the 2nd season, and we're getting closer and closer to Robert's favorite 3rd season there.
Yes. Yeah, you have me for only one third season.
That's all I could convince you of.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we open up with, and this is an interesting opening scene, because here he is, our own Professor William Omaha McElroy, talking to 2 students about the curriculum in his course at Yale University, when suddenly they and then he are hit with flower pots. Now, I say this is interesting because in the past, even in the 1st episode, all we get is, oh my gosh, he got hit on the head. We get explanation. We actually see the transformation in our 3rd time around. And I thought that was interesting, but it also made me a little nervous that maybe there isn't much to this plot, that they have to go into sort of like getting him turned on into King Tut. I mean, what did you think?
Well, I mean, that's a little bit unfair because it's like Monday morning quarterbacking, because obviously we know the whole story after seeing it. I just found it interesting. I'm finally glad to have seen the transformation. So for myself, it was a nice, this is what happens, because we've always seen him come back to the professor, but we've never seen the professor become King Tut.
Right. It did offer some nice humor, though, and usually I'm not much for the humor with King Tut, but I like the whole thing as the students get whacked. There's 2 of them, and they're like, hail, hail, and then he gets whacked, and the gang's all here. I did like that.
I mean, when we get into it, I know that King Tut is not your favorite, but I'll hopefully explain in this one why I've kind of just let go with the flow and enjoy it.
Yeah, okay. Now, being King Tut, it doesn't take him long, though, to begin his crime wave, as later on that night he goes and steals a sarcophagus from an apartment building. I mean, a museum. God, that was the weirdest establishing shot.
Somebody somebody on the B unit or the stock footage unit slipped a little. Uh-huh. So it's like, are we looking at Batgirl's apartment house?
Yes. But what I did like is, Gordon takes a cue from the first season episode, and his first instinct isn't to call Batman, it's to call Bruce Wayne to see...
Hello, Commissioner.
As chairman of tonight's Egyptian ball, can you tell me what significance the robbery of a sarcophagus circa 1300 BC might have? Its principal value would be that of an antique.
Wait a moment, Commissioner. 1300 BC was the era in which King Tut trod the land.
That's what I was afraid of. I had hoped it was some sort of a publicity stunt.
My committee would never engage in such a stunt.
Then it appears our old nemesis King Tut may have returned to haunt us.
My suggestion would be to call Batman immediately.
Sound thinking, Bruce.
Now, at least, though, this time, Bruce isn't as curt or as angry at Gordon. I mean, he was downright nasty to him, if I remember correctly, in the first season episode when he's just like, good day, and hangs up abruptly on him.
Yeah, but I think Gordon was chastising him for something that he hadn't done. It's like, you and your publicity stunts. And Bruce is like, what the hell are you talking about? Now, he wasn't curt to Commissioner Gordon, but boy, he was mad at somebody else in this one.
Who was that?
Alfred.
Oh, yes, Alfred. That's right. Because Alfred lets it slip that Commissioner Gordon wants to speak to him. Like, never mind. And this plays into, it's funny because there are those, fans who really get off on the whole thing because they did this in the animated series especially. I remember where Bruce Wayne Batman says, when I'm thinking, or there was some line to that effect, when I'm thinking, I'm not thinking as Bruce Wayne, I'm thinking as Batman. Like, basically, Bruce Wayne is the persona. Batman is the real person. And so here's Bruce Wayne getting upset at Alfred for saying, Commissioner Gordon wants to speak with you. And it's like, well, he wants to speak with you. You're Bruce Wayne, And he's just like, how did you let that slip? And it's like, you're not Batman, sir.
Then they go into the den, the study there, and they're continuing to talk about it. And the phone receiver's just right there.
Yes.
No, it's just like, oh, who are these two arguing? And what's this talk about Bruce Wayne and Batman?
I always found that interesting because in a lot of the scenes, there's Dick standing by Bruce, and he's distance enough, he can hear what's going on the phone when Gordon's saying something, because Dick's usually like, him again, or something like that. But right. Meanwhile, Gordon is completely oblivious with whatever conversations are going on in the study while the phone's just sitting there.
It's a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
It's unfair to him. And like first season, we get Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson talking about something that has to do with the actual episode.
Yes, because again, it's this whole thing with the Egyptian costumes and stuff like that because they're going to the ball, and I did like that. I like the fact that, of course, they're trying out the costumes at the beginning, which proves interesting as they're running to the bat poles.
Yeah, going down with capes to put on their capes.
Yeah, that must have been a little bit more cumbersome for the bat costume changer to handle this time around.
Probably got snagged.
So off they go. They head to Gordon's headquarters and such. And I like this because a lot of times in the second season, especially in most recent episodes, the office scene really serves no purpose other than, we got to do an office scene because that's the way the formula works. But this time around, it's nice because at least we do get a reference to the previous episode when O'Hara mentions how Tut tried to claim Gotham as his own. So that there's a nice little bit of continuity. It serves a purpose.
Yeah, it's weird. This one has such a vibe of almost continuation from the first season. Mm-hmm. Not so much in the comedy, but it's like there's callbacks.
Yes.
And the other thing, I don't know if you've noticed or not yet, a lot of this episode, these two episodes, take place at night. So Gordon's office gets the special lighting of nighttime through a lot of this.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first season where they have to have the lights on in the background and his desk study light and all that because it's supposed to be portraying evening. So it's like somebody here was giving these two episodes a little bit of TLC. So.
It's funny you say that because now in thinking of it, I think that, at least up to this point now, we've got 3 Tut episodes done. He's probably got the most continuity out of any of the villains in terms of callbacks to old because first episode, okay, there's definitely calls back to that in this one, but also the second episode when the Sphinx that makes the proclamations is brought out again in the second episode. There's something here you wonder, what's the deal? Because they never worried about continuity as much. But here, if you actually watch these 3 Tut episodes in a row, you could feel like you've got some sort of continuing story arc.
Very much so. And that may be due to the fact that the Tut character is so centralized on the whole Egyptian thing that they have to kind of compare notes. Whereas with the Penguin and the Joker, it's like, okay, they're all crazy, whatever, but here we're at, quote unquote, dealing with a real person of the past who's from a specific area. And, maybe they're pulling out the old scripts and going, hey, well, this is cool. We could use that from this. So.
Right. Wow. You may be right on that. Now, we get that phone call. Gordon gets the phone call, and I really have a problem with what follows after the phone call because he gets a call that Fu and Sphinx, a pantomimist, was attacked in his hotel by Tut. All right. First of all, I love the fact that we're being introduced to the term pantomimist here. I do love that. But here's the thing. Gordon tells Batman he's barely alive. So Batman and Robin are like, we're going to race over there now and check this out. He's barely alive. That's a scary thing here in Batman. We really haven't gotten into anything. I mean, I know at the end of every first part we're dealing with a death trap. But, with the exception of Molly and the goons from the movie, we really have never really dealt with death. Death has always been something that we dance along and Batman and Robin get away from. Now we're being told this man is barely alive. But wait for it when we get to the hotel. But we've got a scene in between. We cut to Tut's hideout.
Hiya, Tut, baby. What's shaking?
Batman's head, unless I miss my guess.
Can you get up now? My back hurts.
You may rise. Oh, be it ever so humble.
What's with him?
Please, Nila, you may be goddess of the Nile, but I am your king. And soon I will claim my queen. The lovely Lisa Carson, daughter of wealthy socialite John E. Carson, will appear at the Egyptian ball tonight as Cleopatra. Her escort will be millionaire Bruce Wayne as Julius Caesar. Come, observe. Millionaire Bruce Wayne. Tonight, he'll lose his queen to me, the king!
I gotta check the timing of this, but I'm guessing this is around the time that Carson was going to make his move into The Tonight Show.
I think Carson made his... didn't he make it in 64, 65?
Was it that far back?
Yeah, I think he took over for Jack Parr about 64, 65.
Okay.
And so he may have been really wowing the folks back then, and that's why, they brought up his name.
Right. Because I know that the move to California didn't happen until 72, 73, something like that. So he was still out in New York when this was happening. But yeah, I mean, I got such a chuckle out of that when they were like John E. Carson. and we see some familiar faces here in this scene. We've got Grace Lee Whitney as Neela, his role.
Yeah.
Yep. And Lee Meriwether playing Lisa. So she's back.
Oh, yeah. And for anybody who didn't vote for Grace Lee Whitney on the whole Gotham City 14 miles mall thing, shame on you.
Yes, folks.
Oh, wow.
She was, yeah. Folks, you need to be checking that out, too, by the way. Head on over to Facebook, the Gotham City 14 Miles, usually every Monday, unless Jim Beard is falling behind because he's got work-related things to deal with and such. But definitely by Wednesday, he's always putting up the next round of the Mall Wars, where we're in round 2 right now, where it's basically the winners of round 1 are now facing off against each other. So... and there's some interesting matchups, including who was Neela matched up with? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, and all I know is that it was somebody from the second season, probably early second season. So no, I don't know.
Right.
But just remember, folks, that Jill St. John will not win ultimately. So just keep.
Ultimately, that's it. You've already got that. The Las Vegas odds makers are saying this.
I have paid people off.
Okay.
And I have no problem with Jill. I think she's a lovely woman. It's just everybody, you hear, oh, God, Jill St. John, oh, geez, oh, come on, people.
Oh, I know that John Champion over at the Mission Log podcast certainly would agree with you that there is a much more fetching young woman among the malls there. God, what is her name? The one who was in the Surf's Up, Joker's Under.
Oh, yeah, yes. She also played like either Do, Ray, or Mimi.
Yes.
Well, this show was not spoiling for, unattractive women.
No, that's true.
And I guess we should point out that since the unfortunate passing of Grace, this is kind of a nice way of seeing her in an episode and talking about her.
Yes, absolutely. Because she, as we're recording this, it's only, maybe 2 months that she passed away?
Yeah, it's been very recent. So, right. And she does a great job in this.
She does do. And frankly, I wasn't as impressed with the first 2. So I like her in this here.
Well, his first blonde.
It's his first blonde. That's true. He's always had brunette. Well, see, because he had to have a blonde. Because if she were brunette, why couldn't she just be Cleopatra?
Well, she's not Lee Meriwether, so...
Yeah, well, there's that too. Which I think is also an interesting twist that they bring. I guess they figure, even though the movie is the movie and it's part of the whole Batman mythos there in terms of the TV show and stuff, the movie is also a separate entity. I know that they didn't think very often about bringing in, like James Brolin coming in and doing 3 roles, but those were all secondary roles. You had Lee Meriwether being Catwoman, and now you bring her in again and play the daughter of a wealthy socialite. It seemed odd. I mean, she was great in it, don't get me wrong, but it was an odd choice to make, I would think.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I am glad that they did bring her back because she is she's a gas in this one. She does such a fantastic job. So
she does.
I really wish that she had more guest roles on the show. So, but that's me. So
I kind of wish, and we'll get into this at the end, I kind of wish actually that maybe she'd been like a recurring character as Bruce Wayne's girlfriend.
Yes, absolutely. But I've gotten you sidetracked. Let's continue.
So we get the bat climb because, Batman and Robin arrive at the hotel where the pantomimist is staying, and then we do a bat climb where we get a new window cameo.
Susie Knickerbocker, what are you doing in Gotham City?
I go where the action is, Batman. The Caribbean, the Riviera, the Greek islands. Wherever there's glamour, that's where I am.
I'm afraid you'll find it pretty quiet here then.
Oh, I don't know, Boy Wonder. I hear millionaire Bruce Wayne is really one of the hippies. All that marvelous money and fantastic Wayne Manor.
Stately Wayne Manor. Mr. Wayne is basically a very serious young man.
I think you two belong in my column. I'll slip you in somewhere between Acapulco and Princess Grace.
Holy jet set! Imagine us and Susie Knickerbocker's column, Batman.
An unlikely spot for two mundane crime fighters. And speaking of crime fighting...
I adored seeing both of you. I wonder who they really are.
Now, I am not at all familiar, and that's not to say before anybody jumps down my throat that you're too young. I'm not at all familiar with Susie Knickerbocker. I know she's a gossip columnist. I mean, I would, looking at her, I would attribute her akin to, for my time, Rona Barrett.
Yes, yeah. I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Because I love that. I'll mention, Susie, I guess. And then next thing you know, oh, you're too young. You don't know anything.
I don't know. It sounds like a box of candies mixed with shoelaces or something. That's such a weird name.
But I did like it because at least, a lot of times the window cameos, they really shoehorn them in. And I'm sure most of them are anyway. It's a matter of, we've got a few minutes. Let's write a window cameo. This person has always wanted to be on the show. Let's get them in here. But this one at least was kind of fun because she's dishing on Bruce Wayne to Batman.
That's true. And we got a little bit more information about the dynamic duo in the fact that they get their costumes made in Gotham City.
Yes, I did like that. So, all right, we get through the back climb, they reach the penthouse, and this is when the absurd kicks in. This is where I have a real problem. We were told that this man is barely alive. And then we find out that he's left in the same position at the hotel, tied with a noose around his neck. I'm all for comedy, but this just wasn't funny to me. I just didn't like it.
This was definitely slapstick, and it feeds into a line from Gordon's office, and it's like, really, guys? Because I think Gordon said over the phone, don't touch anything.
Yes, so they took him literally in a slapstick way. You're right.
And so obviously this poor guy is still hanging, barely alive, but we can rebuild him.
Yeah. To take a line from another podcast, I do.
Yes.
They find, though, there's a message on him that they need to translate, so they head back to the Batcave. And I did like this because we're actually getting, I liked the tech of this when they're translating the message and we see the words actually, coming across the screen.
Mm-hmm. It's got this feel of first season, despite the comedy. It's got some first season elements. It's not just into the back computer and out.
Well, see, that's the thing. And this is maybe where I have the problem with Tut is that, because you say it has the feeling of a first season. Well, the first King Tut season took place in the first season. It actually was a well-paced, well-written enough story. My problem was, the little comedy bits, the whole, Buono having to do W.C. Fields and You Don't Say and all that kind of stuff. That bothered me. And to me, I do feel, I see this is like a first season episode in many respects. It's just the humor is a little over the top, like the thing with the guy in the news. It's too much. That's my problem. Now, is it enough to distract me? Maybe I'm getting tired. Maybe I'm getting like you and it's like, you know what? I'm getting used to it, and it's like it's Bono, just go along for the ride, because the stories actually, and this is the thing I have to say the first two anyway, I won't reveal my hand. Well, I've already revealed my hand, so screw it. But the stories aren't bad. It's just the comedy is over the top. But I guess I'm getting so used to it, I'm just like, just go along for the ride and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I have to blame probably the producers and the directors more than I have to blame Victor, because he could be a very serious actor, and he played a villain on Wild Wild West, and he didn't do it tongue-in-cheek. Right. So somebody was letting him do this.
Oh, yeah.
They could have reeled him in. They just didn't bother.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. That's not just a simple matter of, oh my God, look at what he's doing. Yeah, but it's pretty funny. I got a feeling they were like, ham it up. It's in the script. There's funny things. Now, he may have because as many of them did, many of the guest villains did, they would add certain little touches and things of their own that, the directors went with and such. He may have added to it, but, he looked at that script and went, oh, I got to play this up a little bit too. I got to,
oh, yeah.
Now, what I like is, okay, we get the message. He wants revenge and to claim his own. Now, Batman doesn't know what he wants to claim, but he's sure that Tut will strike at the costume ball that night. So Gordon has his officers go undercover as as Egyptian. Well, in a way, as funny as it sounds and everything, but Bruce has to be there, so it's not like, even though, he's let Gordon know Batman will be there and everything, but, he's got to go along with this, because on the normal circumstances, Batman would have been probably, no, too conspicuous, just let Robin in. Mind you, they're going in dressed in full-color costumes into a party or something, and they would stick out like sore thumbs as Batman and Robin, but they'd be like, no, let me handle this. Bruce has got to kind of let Gordon go with this because,
Yep.
He's got to protect the identity.
He does. And no, what I was laughing about is, the cops are undercover there. We get to the party, I guess, which is the next scene, but they're wearing their regulation shoes.
Yeah. Now, before the party, though, okay, we're coming back into Act 2, and this is another sign that we're running out of money. Or we just, for whatever reason, whatever the writer had visualized it, they just couldn't do it. The location person couldn't find it. The exterior of Tut's hideout is shown, and it's an art drawing.
Yeah, well, it won I think the third grader won a prize for that. Stayed within the lines.
Yeah.
Well, but in all fairness, it kind of goes back to all those drawings, quote unquote, that you would see on the Bat computer, the Joker's hideout or the Riddler's river hideout or whatever. It's none of those were ever photographs.
Right.
But yeah, it did stick out. It's like, man, the map. This is not the guy from Star Trek doing the map painting.
No, it isn't. And I liked Tut's plan. He sends along replicas of his robe and mask to the deputy mayor, so the deputy mayor will dress up basically as him, and everybody will think it's him at the party when all the confusion happens. And the deputy mayor is only going to the party because Mayor Linseed, and I love this, another timely reference. We've been getting more and more of these lately. He's on one of his frequent trips to the Asian front.
Because they need him over there so badly.
They do, exactly. But we've been seeing this more and more. We saw it in the Marcia Queen of Diamonds Penguin episode when Robin said, I'd rather face the Russians. I'd rather there be Russians here than the Penguin right now. We're getting these little jabs of what our political situation was like at that time, which I did like.
Yeah, and it's probably an undercurrent of like Stanley, Ralph Ross, it's what can I sneak in there? I have something to say about this, but this is, a kid show or whatever, but I'm still going to sneak it in. But.
Yeah. Now, okay, we get to the party, and this again, it's funny, small ballroom, but well choreographed, the whole thing. I thought it was well done. You've got Gordon's men grabbing the deputy mayor because they think he's King Tut. Bruce arrives, and he escorts Lisa to the throne where he sits her down because she's the Cleopatra for this court here. And that's when Tut arrives with a musical flourish. Now, he approaches the throne. Now, we've got Tut's men also posing as police because it's not like Bruce knows, who's who. And they convince Bruce to help them in kidnapping Lisa by having her dance to the corner where they nab her.
I like that. I thought that was a smart move on Tut's part.
Oh, I did too. I absolutely did. And the whole thing was well played out. I mean, this overall was a great scene. And one other thing that struck me, and I liked it, was that Dick is actually also dating a girl there because he's brought a date. I don't know if that was Lisa's sister or friend, although she seemed to be very familiar with Lisa's habits. So she's got to be one or the other.
Yeah, Dick's date was Penny, and just as an aside, she was extremely hot.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Oh. You know, the thing is, though, is this, and it's another problem I have with the Batman series, because a lot of times Batman takes liberties with people's well-being. Because we find out as we go into Act 3 that Bruce had a tracking device on Lisa in case she was kidnapped. And he'll do this from time. I'll put it with the Mad Hatter, with Bullwinkle, the bowling guy. He was going to let him. He was going to let him be kidnapped with the tracer on him so they could go back and rescue the others. And on the one hand, it's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but you're risking Bullwinkle's life to save the others. And that's not really your call to make. And he'll do this from time to time. It's like, okay. In this case here, I realize it's like in case Lisa is captured. You know, it's not a matter of he deliberately did it. He was befuddled. He was a little, caught off guard, Batman, Bruce, with the whole kidnapping thing. That was not I knew exactly what I was doing and I let them take this pretty young woman, type thing.
That, and he probably couldn't see out of that cruddy mask of his.
But he does get the location of Tuts' hideout, so, they head off that way. But we get, and like you said, Lee Meriwether is really funny, as she's denying Tuts' advances.
But I'm not Cleopatra. I'm Lisa Carson. I live right here in Gotham City, on the fashionable Lower East part of the Upper West Side.
Your home is on the Nile.
I've never been to the Nile, and I'm never going.
Fate and I will take you there.
Look, if this is some kind of a joke, I've had enough. Who are you, anyway?
Who am I? Tut! Master of Thebes, king of the Nile, moon god of Thoth, and that's just on Mama's side of the family.
Well, I have a wealthy father, and he'll pay anything to let me go.
There's not enough money in all the world to rob me of the rapture of having my queen by my side forever.
You're not going to have me by your side, ever.
I wonder how a little stay in the royal dungeon would affect you. Strange how that clammy enclosure can have a warming effect on people. Jester, Lord Chancellor.
I would have, and I know this sounds weird, considering I keep going on about how the humor is too much, but since we had to do it, I would have loved to have had a joke about denial of the Nile.
Oh, gee. Well, hey, if you're dealing with King Tut, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
But since we're in this scene,
right,
I've got a question about his royal jester and his Lord Chancellor. Now, in the beginning, they're college football students.
Mm-hmm.
And they get hit on the head and go under the spell or whatever. But did you notice that they keep slipping in and out of, like, just greedy bad guys sort of thing going on there?
Yes.
So I found that a little strange. It's like you either are or you aren't.
Yeah.
So
every once in a while they were what their roles were supposed to be in the sense of, how they identify themselves. And then other times they were just basic goons going, when are we getting the money? That sort of took away. I totally agree with you. You're absolutely right. So Batman and Robin arrive at Tut's hideout. They can't get in because of the locked door. So Batman looks for a way to get in. On the roof, he sees that Tut is below, but he also sees that Robin has been captured because Robin was waiting outside the locked door and he got whacked by the door as they opened it. But it's interesting. I got to wonder about this because some people have commented on this. I thought by this point the producers and Burt Ward were on better terms, that Bert had sort of come to grips with who he was and wasn't being as highfalutin. But, you know, you have to wonder, because there's been a couple of other instances like this where Robin is taken out quickly. You know, he's captured by the goons.
If the caped crumb is here, the cowled creep can't be far behind.
That's right, Tut.
Batman jumps in and you know, down below, and a bat fight breaks out, and Robin is knocked out quickly. So it's up to Batman to do it himself, to take out all these people, and obviously he's overwhelmed because he's knocked out by Tut, who does get involved in the fight.
Yes, he does. I did find that cool that he did the, what was it called, coup de grace?
Yes.
I don't know. I think things were probably fine with the producers and Bert. I think the uproar was in much earlier episodes in the second season, but, you know, because Bert does still get plenty of screen time in these two, you know, he's kind of helpless.
Right. Exactly. He's kind of helpless. And there's just been a couple of other episodes like that.
What shall we do with our mortal enemies who shan't be mortal much longer? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. For the moment, we'll leave Boy Wonder tied up to decide his ultimate fate. But as for Batman, open the royal sarcophagus. Put him in it.
I mean, for that matter, there was the Catwoman episode where he's knocked out for a good part of the episode because of the cataphrenia. It just seemed to me like there were times where they were holding him back for whatever reason.
That one was Bert's fault.
Oh, okay.
Because that was the one where the previous one that Stanley had, because Stanley wrote that one that you're talking about.
Right.
The one previous to that, Bert was like, You're giving me too much to do. I'm way too busy and blah, 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 blah. So Stanley got back at him by having him kidnapped and knocked out in the next one.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. Now, here's my question to you. We go back to the rooftop. Where did that pool come from?
Well, you know, when it's not in use, that shuttered roadhouse has got a kiddie pool.
Yeah.
So.
It's got a little kiddie pool. I don't know about this being one of the more inspired death traps, but it was still fairly cool. I mean, you know, he's in a sarcophagus, Batman, being lowered into the pool.
It appears to be a death worse than fate. Batman has been in sticky situations before, but never like this. And what of Robin, who's fit to be tied? Is this Batman's Waterloo? Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, at your own risk.
We do get some good camera angles on it because it's got side angles, it's got overhead angles.
Yes, I agree with you on that. They do. And again, like you pointed out, it's taking place at nighttime, so it's darker out. We're getting the cityscape in the dark.
Yes, the good old 2D cityscape. Very thin buildings back there.
Yeah.
And did you notice what the piece of equipment they were using to lower and raise the sarcophagus?
No.
It was the instant bat costume changer lever.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That kind of hurt me. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Don't take that out of the Batcave.
They were like, we just need a lever. Let's pull this out of the wall and put it over here for now.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
Well, yeah, because if you look at the little up and down arrows on it, it's got the scalloped bat edges.
Oh, okay. We're really running out of money here. So episode 2 opens, and it's interesting. We're getting some movie music for the opening as you know, again, we see Batman in the water, you know, the sarcophagus in the water. And I like this. We cut to the Batcave, and Alfred receives a message from Batman in Morse bat code.
Yeah, no question about that. It's a fun scene.
Yeah, it's a fun scene, but I never realized that Morse actually went and created a separate code for Batman.
It all starts with BAT. It takes a little longer.
Oh, God. We cut back to the hideout, and Alfred is now up on the roof. And I thought this was interesting. He hears Tut talking about going to the Royal Oil boiling room, and then he turns around and rescues Batman.
Well, that didn't click until you just said that. It's like, yeah, he could have been pushing that lever up while checking things out.
Exactly. While we're waiting for it to rise, fine, I'll come over to the window and I'll look down and see what's going on. But no, we got to, there he is. And then I'll come over and go, ooh, and I'll pull up the thing. I did like, though, this was cool because, Batman comes out of it and he just says, I went into a trance. And it reminded me of the Bionic Woman episode, Biofeedback. Lindsay Wagner would have loved, I should mention it to her if I ever get a chance to talk to her and say, hey, you should watch this Batman episode because Batman uses biofeedback techniques. And we get the return of King Tut's truck.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Stock footage from the first episode or whatever, but it's still cool to see it.
It's still cool to see it, and it's still bigger on the inside.
Oh, jeez, yeah. It's the TARDIS.
Yes. And here's another instance, like you were saying, where our goons are acting more like just common thugs because they're urging Tut to just simply ransom her. But he's, of course, only interested in marriage. So he gets, she manages to convince him to call her father. So we see John E. Carson, and he agrees to the ransom and will use a radio show that he sponsors to leave a message that the money is ready. Well, hey, we don't have the internet. It's not like you can go to John E. Carson's website and you'll see the message there or something. So,
oh no! I mean, I love it. I think the guy playing John E. Carson at that point was playing it a little broad. I mean, was playing it a little comedic. But that's just me. It's like, this guy's got your daughter's life in his hands, and he's talking about, hey, make sure that you tune in to the radio show that I sponsor. And
yeah, but, everything has been pretty broad. I mean, like earlier on with the whole thing with, don't touch him. It's all been pretty broad. So that didn't bother me, strangely enough.
It didn't bother me. It's just, I was just kind of feeling the energy of the actor. And it's like, wow, you're really pushing the ham, buddy. So.
Try the ham. Here he is.
Yeah.
We get to Act 2.
Drawing upon my vast storehouse of chemical knowledge, I'm herein concocting an alchemist's fluid which will neutralize the boiling oil.
What exactly does it do, sir?
I'm not quite sure, Alfred. It's the first time I've ever tried this experiment, but I think in the end it should produce foam rubber.
Foam rubber, sir?
Yes, sir.
From a tiny capsule like that.
The size of the package, Alfred, is in no way any indication of the value of its contents.
Of course, sir. Very apt.
And again, I like this because it also harkens back to the first season. Whether or not the science is any good, it doesn't matter. He's at least being scientific, which I like.
Yeah, and that was such a cool shot of them between the beakers of him and Alfred.
Yes.
And you kind of saw how he made stuff for his utility belt.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. He gets a call from Gordon, and we get our first indication of the third season.
First, Batman, will you be talking to Bruce Wayne?
I occasionally run into him, Commissioner. Why?
I'm worried about my daughter, Barbara.
How is she involved in all this?
Well, as Bruce Wayne knows, she's away at college. She'll be graduating shortly, and I'd hate to think that some of the dire happenings which have happened to that fine professor of Egyptology could also happen to my beloved daughter at her school.
I rather doubt that your daughter, Barbara, is going to get conked on the head and turn into a long-dead Egyptian ruler, Commissioner.
I know it sounds a little far-fetched, but she's an only child, and of course, my pride and joy. I guess I just need a little reassurance.
If I see Bruce Wayne, I'll ask him to call you. He knows much more about the present American collegiate scene than I do.
I'd be most grateful, Batman.
Did you realize that you picked an episode that's actually starting the slippery slope down to the third season?
I did, and I didn't mean to go down that slide, but I did. It had cooking oil on it, and I couldn't climb my way back up. So, but it does bring up an inconsistency.
It does.
she's an only child. And I'm like, what? Then how do you have grandchildren?
Yes, I caught that too. A little retconning going there for the sake of the third season and all. But yeah, because what was it, the Chad and Jeremy episode that Gordon said his grandchildren recommended he check it out. And grandchildren and Chad and Jeremy, so you're figuring those kids had to be at most, or at the least 9-10 years old.
Exactly. Had they been dealing with the comic book, well, Gordon did have a son.
Yes.
So had he brought that up, it would have taken care of it and just said, Barbara's not his only child, his only daughter. But, they weren't thinking about that sort of stuff back then.
No.
So, like, how can we shoehorn in that somebody's coming?
Now, we get one of the scenes that I do like. I mean, there's comedy in it, but I love it, is the Jolly Jackson show, where Batman calls in.
Our number is Klondike 5825. The name of the program is Open Mouth. Hello.
Mr. Jackson, this is Batman.
Sorry about that. I had to cut you off the air. No names, please.
But it's important that my message be heard.
You're the 8th person to call today claiming to be Batman. Used to be Napoleon, now it's Batman.
But I'm really Batman, and I have a message for King Tut.
King Tut? Listen, I'm no Egyptian phone jockey, bub.
Maybe not, but this is a matter of life and death.
Well, you all say the same thing. Listen, if you're really Batman, then you're a very brainy guy, right?
Go on.
Tell me who said biography should be written by an acute enemy.
Arthur James Balfour, born 1848, died 1930. Was quoted by S.K. Ratcliffe in the London Observer, January 30, 1927.
Friends, we have a very special guest on the line. A great and good friend of yours truly, Batman. He has a message for you. Fire away, Cape Crusader.
This message is for King Tut only. I request all other citizens of Gotham City to comply with my wishes and shut their radios off for the next 30 seconds.
They comply.
Oh, no, this entire skit, this entire scene is just hilarious. I mean, everybody's just playing it perfectly.
Curse you, Batman! May you fall down a flight of stairs and break every tooth in your head except one, and in that may you have a toothache for the rest of your life, which won't be very long.
Okay, you can turn your radios up again. Good. For those of you who didn't hear what Batman had to say, it was very interesting. And for those of you who didn't turn your radios off, naughty, naughty. Hello, Jolly Jackson on the line. Can I help you?
Yeah, this is King Tut speaking.
Well, here we go again.
Tell that repulsive rodent to...
Hold on a second, Tutsy. Sorry to do this, friends, but would you mind turning your radios off again for a few seconds more? Go ahead, sweetheart.
Tell that blue beanbag to bring the money to the Royal Oil boiling room in the abandoned boiler works in the old Boylston section of the city tonight. Alone. And you can also tell him to...
Oh, such language.
Any results, sir?
Yes, Alfred, just as you recall, that I suspected Tuts apparently holding the girl in the abandoned boiler works.
Holy steam valve.
This is interesting. He tells Batman bring his money to the Royal Oil boiling room. So even then, the scene with Alfred looking down now becomes pointless.
I hadn't considered that.
I mean, it's out of sync. It doesn't make sense anyway. It's like you would rescue Batman first, but then you do this, and then you throw it all away by Tut revealing where he is anyway.
Oh, no. Because I think the Royal Oil... I can't even say that. I mean, I give credit to Bono for being able to just trip that off his tongue, Take the Royal Boil and it's like, what? But no, I think it actually had like a proper old boiler works factory or something in there, because that's where Tut's quote unquote calling it the Royal Oil boiling room. But no, I can see what you're saying, but I don't think it was pointless. I think what was funny is that Tut realizes Batman's still alive, and that's why he just blew a stack.
Right. Yeah. We find out that Carson didn't raise enough money, and he has to pay the rest by check, which Tut is willing to accept.
That or McDonald's, coupons.
Coupons. And I like this. It's a nice touch because there's Carson with Batman, giving him the money and everything and saying, I was hoping Lisa and Bruce would marry.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. What do you call it? Like a marriage of convenience?
Yes.
No, that's what Batman called it.
Right.
Yes.
It's done all the time in the old circles or something like that. But yeah, because he was like, I don't have a lot of money. He reveals to Batman, because Batman's like, wait a minute, you're a multimillionaire. And he goes, well, yeah, but this is it. This is everything. And I was kind of hoping that if Lisa married Bruce, our combined forces, would put me back in a position of power again, which is a really cool twist and kind of explains why Bruce does what he does at the end.
Oh, absolutely. But, it's cool because he obviously doesn't know that he's talking to Bruce Wayne, and he's just being very matter-of-fact about it. That's got to cut a little bit to Bruce.
Yeah.
Cut him to the quick a little bit. It's like, wow. Mm-hmm. Hey, you got to love the money sack.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Now... I love the ending. I love this whole ending because, here's Neela who's like, I'm never going to get anywhere with Tut while this chick Lisa's around. So she tries to help her and Robin escape, but instead they're all captured by Tut's men. Tut orders Robin into the oil.
And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And just as Robin's about to be tossed in, Batman arrives in the Bat Cycle.
Yes.
Smashing through the wall, hurls the capsule into the oil, turning it into rubber. I mean, it's perfect.
This is where they were spending the money on this episode. Was, you got the boiling oil in the cauldron that we've probably seen a half a dozen times now.
Right.
Why is the royal boiling oil room, why does it have props from the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler in it?
I didn't catch that. I'm going to have to go back and look at that now, too.
It's got the Penguin's cage that he's got Alfred in the first season. It's got the huge Mardi Gras Joker face things that were from the Joker's hideout of the first season. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of a weird place for a boiler factory.
Right. Well, I could get the cage maybe. I could understand the cage, but the Mardi Gras faces?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Oh yeah. Like, well, I'm going to be up at Gotham Penitentiary. Could you take care of this?
Oh, man. A bat fight breaks out, during which Tut gets smacked on the head and he turns back into the professor.
Did you notice what you see when he gets knocked on the head?
No, what?
When he gets knocked on the head, and I guess he kind of like falls into like a container, feet hanging out and his upper torso hanging out. But a box turns and it's got a question mark on it.
That's why you were saying, okay, so there's the Riddler prop.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's from the John Aston episode.
Wow. And they didn't catch it, I guess, in the dailies to fix it. Well, not that you'd fix it at that point. It's like, you spent probably a good part of the day choreographing the bat fight. It's like, who's going to notice on the small screen TVs?
This will never be in high definition. What the heck?
What's high definition?
Yeah.
Isn't that when you define something and you're high on weed?
Exactly. Or you defy it.
Or you defy it. But it was a good bat fight. I mean, that's always like, to me, a high point of any episode is the bat fight, which is another thing, and I know we're doing this and I got to like be a little more positive. But when we get to the third season bat fights, they're so sad.
I don't like them because they changed the music and it's insipid.
They changed the music, I don't think we ever again hear the movie music being used, which I never understood. It's funny because the movie music I kind of had to come to grips with as a kid, because to me that's not Batman bat fight music. But now whenever I do hear the bat fight movie music, I'm messing this up like Royal Boiling Oil. But whenever I hear that, I actually do get a little bit of a charge out of it now. Now I'm okay with it. But it's more than just the music, too. It's the whole, when the title cards flash up and stuff, anybody with epilepsy could have a seizure because it's flashing like crazy. It's the choreography of the fights. They're more like dance routines than anything else, especially when, as they're grabbing Batgirl and she's kind of pirouetting as she prepares to kick. And it's just,
Yeah, well, Yvonne said that they weren't going to let her punch anybody. So it had to be all ballet moves. And the other problem is that most of the fights are shot medium to far away. Right. You don't get the up close like you used to in the first and second season.
Right.
These 2 episodes had a couple of good bat fights. I like the one in the first episode, before he gets conked on the head.
Right.
Batman does. And why does Robin say that everything's going to be all right to Neela?
I don't know. I don't know. But
what about me? Oh, everything's going to be all right. Hello? Accomplice.
Well, accomplice, but she did try to help them escape. So, Robin maybe maybe that was Robin's way of saying, I'll speak up for you in court.
That could be. I mean, she wasn't a terrible person. Misguided. I mean, she's got a thing for Tut. I mean, okay then.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of having a thing, then we come to the end of the episode, and we're the end of the episode is the end of Bruce's date with Lisa, and a lot happens in this scene because.
Yes.
She's being very suggestive about, how they could make a great couple. And then Bruce just, flat out, and he flat out denies her.
Yes, he does. It's unfair. It's because he's basing it off of what her father said.
Exactly. Who knows what she may genuinely like the guy and everything. And she may not even be aware of the father's plans. And I would most likely imagine she doesn't know.
I think she honestly really does like Bruce.
Yeah. And yet, despite it all, she does still try. I mean, most other girls would be like, thank you, and maybe he'd walk off sullenly, with the shadow of the bat over him and stuff. But no, she tempts him in a way that appeals to Bruce Wayne. Would you like to come in for milk and cookies? Oh, my God.
No, you're a very beautiful young woman, Lisa, and you'll make some man a fine wife. But, I mean, look at her. She is a knockout in this scene.
Yeah, she is.
The babe power up to 11 here.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she really looked good. And, this scene has something that I often have a problem with. Usually it's Gordon that's been doing it up to this point, although Batman's going to start doing it soon. Bruce looks at the screen and addresses the audience directly about milk and cookies and stuff. And I'm actually fine with it this time.
I am too, only because of the message that was there that went way over the kids' heads, but everybody else got it.
Yes.
Batman's going to have sex.
Yes, Batman's going to have sex. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, the only time we've ever seen him be in any sort of way remotely intimate as Bruce Wayne has been with Lee Meriwether both times.
That's true. Lee was married at that time and had children, and I think still was married to the same gent for all these years. But I think she had a real fondness for Adam. They had good chemistry. I don't think it was hard work for her.
Yeah. Let's talk about a few elements of this episode, starting with King Tut himself. I mean, like I said, I think I'm just finally accepting the fact that you got to trade in the ideas of like the angst I got over his humor with the fact that honestly, when you stack up so far 3 King Tut stories, the stories themselves have been actually pretty decent. I would not call so far the run of King Tut an uneven run compared to Penguin even. There's some pretty kind of episodes of Penguin. And Joker hasn't had all high flying. I mean, what helps Joker is the elevation of it with Cesar Romero. But
Right.
and for that matter, I mean, even the Catwoman episodes, there are some that are okay. There are some that are fantastic. There's never a bad one in the bunch. But the thing is, with Victor Buono's 3 King Tut episodes so far, they've all been consistently good in terms of story, content, plot, what King Tut is trying to achieve. All right. Then it's offset with the humor, which throws me off sometimes. But it's like, you know what? I'll deal with the humor, I think is where I'm coming from here.
You either have to give in or you're just going to it's going to be a chip on the shoulder. I mean, I thought his was the worst episode of the first season. It's like, man, this really throws off everything else that the first season was. But it's like, well, it's not going to go away. So you either accept it or it's like, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah. And I can't say that I wouldn't watch his episodes again. In fact, I actually fairly recently watched the first season episode again. One thing, though, that really strikes me here, that as I'm watching this episode, he's more crazed than the Joker. I mean, in the sense of, see, because I know how we portray the Joker nowadays, you know, and that whole Jared Leto thing and everything. It's like he's just a madman. I've always said that the Joker, while he is crazy, he was never like, I think I've even said it on episodes with you. I'd sooner hang around with the Joker, Cesar Romero's Joker, than I would Frank Gorshin's Riddler.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, no, Frank was scary.
Yeah, Frank was scary. But Buono was just downright nuts because, you know, there's this childlike quality to King Tut that makes him very unpredictable. And, you know, I certainly see a lot more evil in him when he's spouting lines like torture is better than violence. It's good, clean fun.
I think he's got a double dose on in this one because he's also smitten. So, you know, he's got evil and he's in love. Yeah. So, yeah, the wheels are falling off of him. He's full blown nutso in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It's just then he gets into the hamming it up too, and that throws you off. I mean, I just wonder, like, what if you had a straightforward King Tut villain who was just insane and embraced what was common in Tut's time, you know, where they didn't think about sealing up somebody in a tomb as punishment and leaving, you know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know?
Well, it's I think it's partly the writing, and it would have been partly, you know, pulling him back. I think he could have done it because he's an excellent actor. Yes. I mean, I've always loved Victor. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's even confessed that they just let him go out there and ham it and overact. You know, nobody was reeling him in.
Right.
So could it? Yeah, I think it could have worked just as well. I think by this point, though, that they were writing for him, and it was, you know, it was going to be hammed up. I do like the scene where he's with Batman at the very end, though, where he's back to being himself.
Yes.
Because it's like all that hamminess has been toned down again, and it's like, he's a good guy, just, you know, he has to wear a hard hat.
Right, right.
Yeah, he's got to go to his classes as a construction worker and whistle at the girls and all that.
Now, we were actually talking about this before the podcast started, the Goons. We've got our court jester played by Tim O'Kelly. Now, he had been earlier on in the episode, The Joker Goes to School, as one of Dick's fellow students in the student council there.
Yes, yes.
And the Lord Chancellor was played by Lloyd Haynes.
Yes.
He had been on Land of the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And he also appeared in the Star Trek pilot episode Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Really?
Yeah. He was one of the background people. I think he had a line or two. It wasn't a major character, but he was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
But boy, he's an old college student.
Yeah, he's an old guy, exactly. And, you know, another person who appeared in this episode, and I always say his last name wrong, he died recently as well, Richard Balcalan.
Yes.
Am I saying? I'm totally mangling his name. Baccalan. There you go. Now, he had appeared in a number of Batman episodes throughout the 3-year run. He started as CB in the Riddler episode, Death in Slow Motion. And finally, his last appearance is the Green Alien in the Joker's Flying Saucer.
Yes, and he was good friends with Cesar Romero.
Ah, okay.
After the run of Batman, they went on to do 3 Disney movies together.
Okay, for some reason, I can see the movies, but I can't think of any of the titles that Romero was in.
The Computer War, Tennis Shoes,
there you go.
Now You Don't, The World's Strongest Man.
There you go. Yep. Okay.
So, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell films, yep. What's your favorite bat device in this episode?
I can't, I'll say it's attached to my favorite device in this episode. And that would be the battering ram.
Ah, okay.
Because this is the last time we get to see the bat cycle.
Is it really? Oh, I guess it would be, because you're not going to have 2 bat cycles flying around. You got the Batgirl cycle as well.
And it's always such a treat to see it, because it was so rare. And it had a big cardboard box on the front.
As for me, I mentioned it earlier, my favorite bat device was the electronic translator in the Batcave.
Yes. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for the bat cycle, so I had to go with the battering ram.
No, that's cool. That's cool. All right, trivia question, which I'm sure you probably got the answer to, from Joel Eisner's official Batman Bat book. What was the exact amount of the ransom Tutt asked for in return for Lisa Carson?
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
No. It was, I think it was for the mortgage on the pyramids or
That's
something. Right. It was $8,300,487.12.
12 cents.
Would you believe 13 cents?
Oh, my God. All right. And, again, humor. It's all about the humor. And that's what you have to sort of, either you swallow the humor with the whole thing and you go along for the ride, or you sit there, like you say, you get a chip on your shoulder.
Well, now let me ask you this, John. Okay, this is your third time out, and obviously you've had problems with it, and I can see where people would have problems with King Tut. Did you enjoy this one?
Okay, I'll tell you what, because normally I ask you first. I'm going to do it this time around. I'm going to give you my holy, and I'll get into did I enjoy it or not. In rating this episode, I would say holy burner. As in, you can really burn through this episode because it moves. It is not a slow-moving episode. It's got a lot of nice pacing to it. The action is really good. It's a good story. I come back to this again. It's a good story, as were the other 2. I did like all the Egyptian elements. My only big problem was the comedy. But I think that I'm just going to give in to Buono as Tut and just go along for the ride and stop worrying about it so much, because they're good stories. I can't fall... honestly, I wish that some of the other weaker, like Penguin or Joker or Catwoman stories had as much, oomph to them as this did. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I'll finish it off by saying, though, that oftentimes I do pay more attention to Buono's performance than the story itself. That's not necessarily a good thing, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, he was like 400 or 500 pounds or something. He's literally the elephant in the room, so it's not like you can bypass him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he does take command.
Yeah, he does. He does take command. Now, what about you? How would you exclaim this in a holy exclamation?
Gosh, holy hot chicks!
Yeah. There's a guy that every once in a while he posts, I forget his name, Renato, I think it is. He posts on the Batcave podcast page.
Yes. He's got that book of the bad girls.
The bad girls of Batman.
Yes.
He must love this episode.
Well, yeah, he had at least 3, 4 if you include Madge Blake.
Right. Madge Blake in her Egyptian costume. I don't think she wore anything else in this episode.
Yeah, she was completely, I don't know what character she was playing. It certainly wasn't Cleopatra.
No.
But they didn't have her as a foot soldier, so that was nice.
That was also just a nice touch, too, when, Bruce sort of in a almost flirtatious way at the dance, at the gala, is saying to Madge Blake how he would escort her or something. It was a nice little touching scene between the two of them.
That's what I found lacking, like, not to get back into it again, lacking in the movie, but here we've got a nice family moment.
Right.
And it's like, I miss Madge. I wish she'd been there in the third season.
I know. It makes it all the more sad because we're coming to the end of the second season and we're barely going to see her in the third.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you obviously enjoyed this.
I did. It's, I totally take point with what you mean with the comedy. I had problems with the comedy right off the bat from the first season when he was the one that introduced the comedy in a large scale. But, I just kind of surrendered to it, and I'm looking at it as a second season episode, and it's like, this is a pretty good second season episode, especially this late in the game.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, I mean, definitely something that, any of you naysayers out there, go back and give it another look. Try and let go. I'm letting go. Jim Beard, let it go. Let it go and just let's just watch the stories. And we're all going to hold hands and we're going to sing "Let It Go" together.
We're going to sing "Let It Go," and next time we see Tut, it'll be John Aston. And I'm kidding, John. I'm kidding. I love it.
Or next time we see Tut, Mr. Freeze is going to be right behind him singing "Let It Go" as well.
Oh, jeez.
So as we come to the conclusion of this episode of the Batcave podcast, Robert, just take a moment. How can people, follow you and what's going on with you on the internet with this movie now that you're getting together? I understand you've got planning a Kickstarter?
Actually, in Indiegogo. Which will, as of this taping, should go live tomorrow or Monday. And thank you for bringing it up. I didn't want to bring it up because I felt like I'd be shilling myself.
No, shill away.
I am an independent filmmaker, and I'm doing a throwback 1980s horror movie called Madhouse Manor. You can look it up on Facebook, where I'm going to be posting stuff, and hopefully the Kickstarter will... here I call it the Kickstarter.
I'm sorry.
The Indiegogo will be successful, and you folks will see a new movie by next year. So please check that out. And other than that, we just recently got over 400 members on the 1966-1968 Batman television series group on Facebook. So I'm very happy about that, and we got great people there.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a great place to talk. 66, 68 Batman, and to discuss it in honest terms, but not mean-spirited. And that's the one thing I do like, because some of these other ones, I recently just saw one where someone was, expounding on the fact that, they were talking about Batman in general and the comics today and how he just went over the, it's one thing to have your opinion. It's another thing to push, a racist or homophobic or just downright, anti-anything agenda that just comes across as mean-spirited. And this guy was just bashing into it. And, of course, everybody's jumping in and feeding the troll. And it was ridiculous. This was on another one. I mean, I like the fact you cut them off quick. It's like, no, hang on. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to say you dislike it. You're not entitled to bash.
Yeah, well, and I have to play the bad guy. I have to play the enforcer. I don't do it often.
No. No, because fortunately, most of the members are pretty good about it.
Yeah, most of the members are sweethearts. You get your bad apples. It's like, look, as you said, you can have your opinion. Maybe you do not like this character or this actor or this thing, but, you've had your say.
Right.
Don't drill it into the ground. It's not this other person's fault.
Exactly. So make sure you're checking that. I'll have links for, the Indiegogo campaign, for the Facebook page for the movie, and for the Facebook group for, 1966-68 Batman TV series as well in the show notes for this episode, so you can check it all out. So that's going to do it.
Next week, Miss Tallulah Bankhead locks horns with Batman.
Now, Robert, I got to tell you, I'm a little worried because...
Yes.
This is one of those episodes I loved as a kid. I loved it. I mean, literally, I don't know why, I just did. I love Tallulah Bankhead as the Black Widow. As a kid, and even to this day, I still, like, every once in a while just get this urge to suddenly go, how about trying this on for size? You know? I love Tallulah Bankhead. And I'm afraid my adult self will not like it, because that's been my situation here. A lot of things I loved as a kid came to be disappointed, and a lot of things I didn't like as a kid came to appreciate. So I'm hoping that's not the case here, because I would be shattered if I don't like Tallulah Bankhead's appearance as Black Widow.
I hope that you find it good. It's not one that I come back to often, but I do enjoy it. And hey, you get the first season Bat Cycle, so how can it be bad?
Exactly, there you go. And joining me to discuss this episode is the author of the Batman at 45 series of books, Chris Gould. God, I'm looking forward to this, because I along with Gotham City 14 Miles and Joel Eisner's Bat book, those are all my Bibles in terms of finding information about the show. So I'm really looking forward to having him on. So until next time, folks, thank you so much for listening. Robert, once again, take care.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave Podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com, or by phone at 888-866-9010. Subscribe to the podcast via Libsyn.com, that's LIBSYN.com, or through iTunes. The Batcave Podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave Podcast.
Milk and cookies, did you say?
I made the cookies myself.
Man cannot live by crime-fighting alone.